Hello, Endersword here again, this time with a bit of a unit review for the Heart of the Swarm beta units that came out just about a week ago now. A few things have changed already, and they certainly will in the future, but we're going to take a look at what's there as of this moment. The Mothership core is the first one we're looking at. Mothership core is essentially a really weak photon cannon that has to be activated by energy that is sitting on the back of a very slow-moving floating turtle. The goal of the Mothership core in the game is to be babysat by the rest of the Protoss army, really giving them a sense of responsibility. The Oracle is an interesting unit. It gives Protoss the option of spending 200 gas in order to force his opponent to make a single turret. Its combat role is very similar to a High Templar that doesn't have any energy left. The Tempest is a nice departure from carriers. The development team obviously saw that the carrier did a lot of damage and wanted to go in the other way, basically making a unit that instead of producing damage kind of produces negative feelings or something like that. It can actually stay at range 22, and from that distance with a little spotting help can direct a beam of Goku-like energy towards an enemy Zergling and really damage it psychologically. Really make it reconsider its life path and whether it wants to stand in that particular location, because if it does stay there after 2 or 3 volleys, it might very well die. The Viper is a really interesting unit added to the Zerg. It can obviously perform Scorpion-like feats of strength and pull something towards it, as well as blind everything around it with a noxious gas of some kind, which I thought was outlawed by the Geneva Convention on Char. But overall, as powerful as this one sounds, I kind of like the idea that it's in the game, because every one of these you see is simply one less Infestor or Broodlord that you're going to see out there. The Swarm Host, as we all know, finally answers the question, where do Diglets come from? It will spawn them up out of the ground, at which point each one is assigned some sort of gun or ranged weapon, and it will run fanatically at you and do seemingly excessively powerful attacks. The Swarm Host is a different unit than the Broodlord, despite the fact that they essentially fill kind of the same role with the same type of ability, and maybe it's just a Broodlord that dug its way underground for a little bit. The Battle Hellion is really interesting. It was a way to make a unit that was already a cheesy game ender into something that could really sustain itself and allow other units to become really cheesy game enders without having to deal with things that normally counter a bio army. If you just stock a few of these up front, then you're certainly not going to have to worry about charge lots or lings or anything that would ever stop the normal MMM force, which is obviously the direction we want to go. The Widow Mines are Banelings. They weren't Banelings when this first started, but they did become Banelings after a little while. Originally, they had a timer that when they latched onto you, it would actually provoke micro that you would have to pull a unit away from your army so that it doesn't kill the rest of it. Now they just kind of burrow in the ground and then explode instantly as they latch on. Basically, they're just Banelings that have to be burrowed first. The Warhound is the only unit that you're going to require for anything. Again, it was another stroke of brilliance for the development team. When Wings of Liberty came out, a lot of people felt that things had such hard counters, that the Colossus was so hard countered by, say, a Viking, or a tank was so hard countered by an Immortal, or things like that. So they decided to go a whole other way and make a unit that didn't have one. I think they really established that and should definitely make the community a lot happier. So these are all the units that are currently out there, but the really important thing is the collapsible rocks. The expansion of rocks is really what people were looking for in this expansion, and I'd just like to throw out another few ideas on ways that they could go with rocks in the future. We could have falling rocks that just randomly hit locations and did AoE damage all over the place around those sort of areas. There's all kinds of cliffs throughout StarCraft maps, and as stalkers or roaches go by, I constantly think, why aren't they hit by random shit? Loose gravel could be a nice area that slows down everything that gets on it. There's just loose pebbles under your feet, so if you try to stim on it, your feet just sputter in the air like you're some sort of cartoon character, and you can't really move anywhere. Volcanic rock would be neat. You could actually have active lava pools all around the map, and then if you land, say, the factory that, well, you used to not need it, but I guess you need to make Warhounds now. You can land your barracks in the lava pool and then overflow it and create a new indestructible rock to block everything off. Quartz, of course, could be there to reflect anything that's laser-like, so Colossus beams or Stalker laser shots could bounce off the quartz and randomly hit targets over and over. Rolling rock, we could place 2 idols on the map that are worth 500 minerals. When you grab it, then a big rock comes after you like in the Indiana Jones movies, and you have to run back to your base where it hits your ramp and stops. Then you have to get on a pontoon plane and get away. Rocky and Bullwinkle, when you destroy those rocks, a moose and squirrel will attack the enemy. And Dwayne the Rock Johnson would actually be asleep in a certain area. You would have to collect a pokey flute from somewhere and wake him up, at which point he becomes enraged and attacks anything around him, so you could kite it to your opponent's base or something like that. I certainly look forward to a lot of the rock improvements in the future. I really think that's the direction that the game needs to go, as opposed to trying to balance out the units or making the game so that it requires micro or strategy or like control of any kind. Then I really think that we can just reshape entire maps with this new rock-based technology. Thanks for watching, folks.